And welcome to the Drew Allen Show. This is Drew Allen, the Millennial Minister of Truth. Good to be with you on this holiday weekend. Can somebody out there please tell me what the difference is between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? Now, I don't mean the genitalia, although, that doesn't really mean anything to the left. What is a woman? You can't define it. What I'm talking about, though, is the standard here. I feel like, let me say it this way. I feel like this is deja vu. Like it's 2020 all over again. You've got Kamala Harris, who's been substituted in right at the last minute, replacing Joe Biden. But she might as well be Joe Biden because she's running a basement campaign, right? She's not out there doing interviews, although she did finally do one interview. One interview. We only got to see 17 minutes of it. It was taped. 17 minutes out of 40 minutes that was taped. That's all that was good enough to show us. We saw the best 17 minutes of her interview with Dana Bash. And boy, it's very clear now why she's not doing interviews and why they're hiding her, because she is an idiot. But when it came to Joe Biden, right? The standard was so low. Right, we found ourselves relieved when he didn't croak on stage. I'm serious. Right, a successful speech from Joe Biden is one in which he didn't die. Right, that's how low the bar was. And here is Kamala Harris, and the bar is so low. She does one interview, and now they're saying, "Look, see, you saw her. She did an interview. You don't need to see anymore. She's great." And she didn't poop her pants during the interview. And to the left, to their standard, which has existed since Joe Biden, right? I mean, this is the thing. When Democrats lower standards, they never go back up. I guess that's what I'm saying. And Kamala Harris, I won't even say that. But Kamala Harris here, who's now taking over for Joe, she's up to bat. They haven't raised it, right? I mean, Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. She's not a decrepit old man. She is much younger. She's not suffering from dementia, and yet she's being held to the same low standard that Joe Biden is. So she didn't poop her pants during the Dana Bash interview, and now we're supposed to celebrate this. She proved herself because she got through a taped interview in which, and I got to tell you this again, apparently 40 minutes were taped. 40 minutes were taped. And they only aired 17 minutes of this interview. That is how horrific she is. And here's another similarity between Joe Biden when he was the president and she was the vice president running. Tim Walz is like what Kamala Harris was to Joe Biden. It's like the insurance package. Kamala Harris was so bad that they had to put Kamala Harris on the ticket to make sure, ironically, because it ended up happening, to make sure that nobody wanted to replace him. Until now, right? He got through most of his presidency, and nobody pulled the 25th Amendment out. Nobody got rid of him because Kamala Harris was even worse than him. It was an insurance package. Now, of course, it's happened. But Kamala Harris is the same way. And I'm going to play some of these clips. When we see these clips, I mean, Tim Walz is worse than Kamala. I mean, if you can even imagine such a thing. I mean, the Democrat Party, it's not just that they're diabolical and they're evil and their ideology is deranged. I mean, they support cutting off 12-year-olds' PPs and hormone therapy. They support an open border. I mean, there's not a single policy that is defensible that they have in their party. But that aside, I mean, it's like they find the stupidest people on the planet. I guess maybe that's par for the course. You've got to be truly stupid to be a Democrat, to be one of these individuals. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe I've stumbled upon the answer. It wasn't rocket science after all. Only a very, very stupid, low IQ person could try and defend and run as a Democrat. But that's my first take on this. I mean, I just am shocked and stunned that the bar hasn't changed. This is Joe Biden 2.0. But I wanted to get into something else first, and then I will get into these clips. We've got a lot to get into today. But first, you have a new hoax, this Arlington Cemetery hoax. Have you heard about this? I'm sure you've heard about this. I mean, how could you not hear about it? It's all the media wants to talk about. So Donald Trump, of course, was invited by Gold Star families to Arlington Cemetery. They extended the invitation. They wanted him there. And this is the week that, it's an anniversary, a sad one, of the botched Joe Biden, Kamala Harris withdrawal from Afghanistan. And as a result of their ineptitude, of their stupidity, 13 U.S. service members were murdered at the Kabul airport. And so one of these individuals invited Donald Trump, at least one, who lost their child, one of the 13 that died, invited Donald Trump, and he came to Arlington National Cemetery. And he got his photo taken with him. And the media is turning this into a controversy. Now, this is like the losers and suckers hoax. I mean, none of this is true. None of this is real. And even if what they say happened, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing to be upset about. Now, apparently, they're very outraged because some photos were taken. Donald Trump dared to go and take photos with these Gold Star family members. So people who lost their loved ones, their sons and daughters, in combat, wanted a photo with Donald Trump in Arlington Cemetery, and he obliged. And the photo was put out there. And this is why they're attacking it. There's no controversy about what happened here. Now, they're saying that there was an altercation between some kind of aide that was there and somebody who worked in the cemetery. I mean, it's like being in a museum. You try and snap a picture, and somebody rushes over and says, "Hey, sir, you can't take a picture over here. You can't." Okay, whatever. Okay, get off me. Don't touch me. Wow, what a news story. That's newsworthy, controversial. This person's not qualified to be president. And I've got a picture here. I'll explain exactly why the media is concocting this faux controversy. Here we go. This is NBC Los Angeles. The alleged altercation at Arlington National Cemetery threatens to blunt Trump's attacks on the Biden-Harris administration over Afghanistan. Well, there you go. They need something to distract. Every time the Democrats get caught doing something, they have to invent a controversy related to Trump. So in this case, it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris who are responsible for one of the most embarrassing moments in American history. Pardon me. One of the most embarrassing moments in American history. Not just embarrassing, yes, humiliating, but deadly and unnecessary. So you had 13 U.S. service members that died as a result of this. And this is a moment that the media doesn't want you to focus on because it's another failure of this administration. It's another failure of Kamala Harris. And they're trying to build Kamala Harris, of course, into, the next Messiah. And it doesn't look good for them. And so this is what you get. You have a media that says, "Oh, we've got to make Trump look bad. We've got to put the attention on him and get him caught up in some scandal related to the military." And I'll put it up again one more time. The alleged altercation at Arlington National Cemetery threatens to blunt Trump's attacks. There you go. That's the reason they do this every single time. They get caught, and rather than address, I mean, think about the media's job too. Should they not be reporting on what happened? Should they not be talking about these 13 brave U.S. service members that lost their lives? No, they don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about Trump and focus on Trump and attack Trump. And it's just remarkable because you had, cocaine in the White House. They weren't interested in that story. You had Joe Biden corruption. Weren't interested in that story. Joe Biden's mental decline. Not interested in covering that story. Kamala Harris's father's a communist. They're not interested in that story. Tampon Tim Walz, the stolen valor. They're not interested in that story and covering that. I mean, that's a real controversy. That's a real scandal. You've got Kamala Harris, who apparently lied about working at McDonald's. So just like Democrats always do, because they can't relate to anybody, and they're always uncomfortable because they're hiding who they are because they are communists and they're radicals and they're lunatics. So they're always trying to relate to the common man, and the only way they know to do that is to lie. Just like Joe Biden lies about who he is and what he's done and so on and so forth. Same thing with Kamala Harris. So, I'm just like you. I worked the fryer at McDonald's. Well, people looked into it now, journalists, and discovered McDonald's has denied that she ever worked there. So you've got Kamala Harris lying about working at McDonald's. You've got Tampon Tim, her VP running mate, lying about his service, and the media doesn't care. But they're very obsessed with Donald Trump going to Arlington Cemetery and taking pictures with Gold Star families that invited him to be there and wanted their photo taken. Do you know what the real controversy, you know what the real scandal is in this Arlington National Cemetery story? It is that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, neither were invited by these Gold Star families to be there. That's what they think of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They didn't invite the current president and vice president. Nor did the current president or vice president want to be with these Gold Star families who lost their children on their watch. Joe Biden is on vacation in Delaware. He's been doing this for 2 weeks. We have no president. Kamala Harris makes no effort to join them either. So that's the real scandal. Why didn't these Gold Star families want Joe Biden or Kamala Harris to come and be with them? Why did they feel like they wanted to invite Trump? And yet the media turns this into a story about how Trump is evil and hates the military. This is the opposite of what that means. Trump is beloved by the military. Trump loves our service members, and he loves the Gold Star families. And apparently they feel the same way because they reached out to him and wanted to be with him. He offered them comfort where they would not find any with Joe Biden, who checked his watch during the dignified transfer of the remains ceremony. Remember that? All the bodies came home. He's sitting there looking at his watch. Couldn't wait for it to be over. That's who these people are. So that's the scandal. That's the scandal. And this is what they always do. They have to invent. I mean, this is the Democrat strategy, right? I mean, you understand this by now. I hope it's clear. They cover up or deny real scandals that involve their own candidates, the Democrats, and they invent hoaxes to try and harm the Republican, in this case, Donald Trump. That's all these people do. But I want to remind you exactly who Kamala Harris is. Because while they want to focus on this Arlington Cemetery hoax, there's no doubt about who Kamala Harris is. And we've known who she is for a long time. And her aides in the past have even come out and talked about how she's not qualified to be president. But I want to go back. I mean, this goes back to December 30th, 2022. None of this is new. This is who Kamala Harris is. The media doesn't want to talk about who she is, but I'm going to. We're going to, because it matters. Now, the Democrats will drag out any person they can find who will say a bad thing about Trump, right? And they will pump up that story and say this person worked for Trump or this person was in the administration and they hate Trump and they say he's not qualified. Well, how about Kamala Harris and what people say about her, huh? Here's the headline. This is from the New York Post on December 30th, 2022. Kamala Harris's deep insecurity causes toxic work environment, book claims. So former aides to Vice President Kamala Harris, well, they said she's possessed by deep, deep insecurity. No question about that. She's so insecure that she couldn't sit down in a friendly interview with Dana Bash without Tim Walz, her little service animal, to comfort her. That's how insecure she is. That's why she won't do interviews. She's deeply insecure. And by the way, the worst vices of mankind, our worst behaviors are manifested from that place of insecurity. You do not want an insecure person running this country. They are vulnerable to evil, and that's what we see. Author Chris Whipple writes in The Fight of His Life that Harris refused to answer questions about turmoil and morale problems among her staff for his book on President Biden's first months in the White House. But ex-employees described the woman, a heartbeat from the Oval Office, as dysfunctional and unprepared. So just think about that for a second. We're going to take one short break here, our first break. And then we will come back and continue a discussion about who Kamala Harris is and what people around her have been saying for years. All right, this is Drew Allen. We'll be right back after this.
Sounds rolling. All three cameras. We're good.
Is there any regrets that you have in life? I should sit here and say, yeah, I got a lot of regrets. But when I look back on my life and I understand the lives that were lost, I mean, I'm sitting here with you. and I can tell my story.
Former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty today for lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
Brilliant military career, serving 33 years.
Why was he being so elusive?
Mike Flynn told the truth and faced life in prison.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn, one of America's most treasured military heroes. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Go to Patriot TV, click on Store, and grab a once-in-a-lifetime chance to own a treasured piece of American history. And get your own personal download link to watch America's most talked-about movie, as well as a DVD hand-signed by General Michael Flynn. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store. Incredible savings and a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
And we are back. Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth. So Kamala Harris, the media is absolutely uninterested in talking to the many people who are eager to warn the American people about who she really is. Instead, they're busy inventing hoaxes to convince Americans that Trump is so awful, Trump is so bad. And of course, that all that is a distraction because the left and Kamala Harris are such a train wreck that they have to come up with these hoaxes on their own. Otherwise, they would be forced to cover what's going on their own side. Because there's a lot. There's a lot going on. I got story after story here we'll get to in a minute. You know, California passing a bill banning voter ID laws, 20 migrants, illegals that means, tried to enter a California school bus, picking up students the other day. You got Venezuelan gang members taking over apartment complexes in Venezuela. I mean, this country is on fire. And the people responsible for it are trying to run for election again. That'd be Kamala Harris. And they think that you are stupid. That's what the left thinks. And of course you're not. And I've got data to back that up in just a moment. But anyway, continuing on. So as I left off, this person should not be president of the United States. That's what a top aide to the former California senator's 2020 campaign said. So back in 2020, this aide said and recognized this person, Kamala Harris, should not be president of the United States. All we hear is Donald Trump's not qualified, even though he's already done the job. Donald Trump can't be president. Well, this person's telling us that Kamala Harris shouldn't be president. Should we take this person seriously? They take all these people seriously that say that about Trump, even though it flies in the face of reality because we know what an effective president he actually was because we lived under Trump. We lived under Biden-Harris, and life was better under Trump. Everyone knows that. So a lot of us, this person goes on, at least folks that I was friends with on the campaign, all realized that, yeah, this person should not be president of the United States. Another unnamed aide, identified as a senior staffer, is quoted as saying Harris's backstory is the child of Indian and Jamaican immigrants who became the first woman and woman of color to be vice president is a lot of the reason people support her. Oh my gosh, look at this racist aide working for Kamala Harris, acknowledging that Democrat supporters of Kamala Harris are shallow morons that are only looking at her and supporting her because of her skin color or whatever they're told that day. Today she's Jamaican. Tomorrow she's Indian. Today she's black again. Kamala Harris can be anything you want her to be. Just project your greatest hopes and dreams onto Kamala Harris. This is what the Democrats do with their candidates, by the way. Yeah, I mean, so this goes back. Polling shows widespread concern that at 81, Biden is too old to properly prosecute a potentially historic campaign, with Donald Trump seemingly set to be the Republican nominee once more. So this was back. No, this is recent. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. You couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference. So one was 2022, and then I'm telling you about 2024. So this is a separate book. So you got two books now, right? You got two books. Though, as I started off, I'm talking about this Chris Whipple book, who writes in Fight of His Life about Harris. And now we've got another book written by Hunter Walker and Lupe Lupin, authors of The Truce, who are quoting former staffers to vice president in a scathing assessment. So anyway, so in this new book, you have this aide saying that this person should not be president of the United States. But I want to go back because this started in 2022. None of this is new. So let me go back to this other article, this other book. The amount of stress she created by constantly being impossible to manage and taking out all her stresses on staff, usually women or people who were not in great positions of authority, was just kind of unbearable, he said. Whipple. The descriptions to Whipple are similar to reports that have been published in other outlets since the former senator from California became VP. In June 2021, Politico quoted a source as saying people who worked for Harris feel treated like SH, you know what, crap. That December, the Washington Post quoted staffers who said the Veep was a bully with a soul-destroying management style. It's clear that you're not working with somebody who is willing to do the prep and the work, one former worker told the Washington Post at the time. With Kamala, you have to put up with a constant amount of soul-destroying criticism and also her own lack of confidence. There it is. She's insecure. So you're constantly sort of propping up a bully, and it's not really clear why. So again, this is from 2022. This is from the Chris Whipple book, The Fight of His Life. And then we fast forward now to January 15th of 2024. Now, mind you, both of these examples, both of these books I'm talking about, these preceded her becoming the nominee. Everyone at both of these times, in 2022 and even in January of this year, was saying that Joe Biden's going to be the nominee, including Kamala Harris. So there was no reason for these people to lie about who she was. They weren't trying to sabotage her, chances of becoming none of that was happening. So there is more credibility to this as well, because it's not a result of that. It's not driven by that. Nobody expected her to be president until 5 minutes ago. So anyway, this Truce book, written more recently, is the one where they say that this woman cannot be president. She should not be president. So, the problems Harris and her team had experienced on her campaign had persisted during her time as vice president, the authors write. Harris saw heavy staff turnover, with aides describing a toxic climate, riven with factionalism and mismanagement. One source who worked for the vice president declined to go on record or even discuss matters anonymously due to the heated atmosphere around the office. But they said it was Game of Thrones. So this is who Kamala Harris is. This is who she would be as a president, as a leader. She's not equipped. And at the end of the day, everyone knows the truth about Kamala Harris. You know what her biggest disqualifying attribute is? She's an idiot. That's it. But you would know that from the media. I mean, the media out here, by the way, here's CNN, how they're covering this, trying to make perception reality. In an exclusive CNN interview, Kamala Harris gave the clearest view yet of what she plans for her presidency if elected. In this Dana Bash interview, they're saying she gave the clearest view yet. Maybe that's true, but not the way they mean it. We did get the clearest view. She's a moron, and she told us how incompetent she is. But here's a perfect example. Here is Kamala Harris, 45-second clip. CNN says, she's brilliant. She showed how great she is. You decide for yourself.
Deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake.
Did you hear any evidence of her lifting up anyone on her campaign? The accusation is damning. She's beating people down. It's a toxic environment. I mean, she gets confronted there. Let me just start that over again, the beginning of the clip. Well,
deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
The last decade. Who's been in charge the last 3.5 years? Her and Joe Biden. Her and Joe Biden. And there she is again. And this is why they cannot win. This is what they cannot overcome as a party running against Trump. Their record, reality. And she says, well, you were well, I'm talking about an era. An era. Okay, let's talk about an era. Let's talk about an era. 16 years and only 4 of those years was Trump. So we're talking about an era of Obama and Joe Biden and you, Democrat rule, which has made America worse. Made America worse. But we're going to take one more short break here. When we get back, I want to continue on this. I want to play some more clips of Kamala Harris. And, of course, Walz, who succeeds in being the Kamala Harris of this particular ticket. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Don't let them win. Patriot TV is committed to delivering the truth. America's new network for patriots is growing fast, and we'd love you to join us as a member of Patriot TV. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver unbiased reporting, thought-provoking discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. From in-depth interviews to behind-the-scenes footage, Patriot TV brings you closer to the voices shaping our nation's future. Whether it's political developments, cultural shifts, or global affairs, Patriot TV keeps you informed and empowered. As a member of Patriot TV, you'll get perks like personal invitations to exclusive Patriot TV events, where you can gather and network with like-minded Americans. We'll also host online events throughout the year with General Flynn, who's committed to host live Q&A webinars where callers like you can ask him questions and get real answers. Access to these events will be members only, so go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. We have a great membership option starting at just $9.99 a month, or save with our annual membership for only $99, or take advantage of the best value, the 2-year membership for just $159. Go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. Do your part to make sure the truth gets out to all patriots and help ensure future programming. Become a member today. Just go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member, join today.
Former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
And we are back. So again, the left, the media is predictably telling us what a success this interview was. And right, they don't want to do any more interviews after this. And that's what they'll say. Oh, she did her one interview. Look, she doesn't have anything to prove anymore. We got to see her, for 17 minutes. Donald Trump, how many interviews has he done? How many podcasts has he done? And they're all an hour, 2 hours. I mean, how long was the interview he did with Elon Musk? 2.5. I mean, this is the most accessible president we've ever had in our history. And Kamala Harris is hiding, does one interview, 17 minutes, and it's taped. And of course, CNN put on the screen that it was live, but whatever. But this is just, this is what we're dealing with. So I want to play another clip here. I mean, here is Kamala Harris being asked about her flip-flopping on positions. What is your party platform? What are your positions? And I want you to listen to her answer.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
Word salad. Climate change is a thing of the time that we have to apply things like the green economic deal to the times of the time. It means the time. You understand what I'm saying? The time. Metrics, time. Did I hit the words? Metric. And just think, she prepared for this interview, and this is the best she could do. There were 40 minutes taped, and they only showed 17. They cut 17 minutes together, and that's what they gave us. So think about that. This is the best that we're ever going to see of Kamala Harris. The very best. This is her at her best. And her best is not, I mean, I just, it's unbelievable. So that's what she can do. But, you know, one interesting question was asked again about how she defended, he's defended Joe Biden's age. Now she suddenly replaced him, but she was lying to the American people all along, saying that he should run. He's going to run. He's capable of running. Listen to her answer to this.
Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and
doing it now. She's still defending him. She's still lying about him. If he's so smart and cares so much about the American people, Kamala, then why isn't he running? See, if we had an actual journalist in the room, and Dana Bash is no journalist, that question would have been asked. There were no follow-ups asked, by the way. There was no pushing back. It was softball question after softball question, and she still couldn't even make herself look competent. But, oh, yeah, he's so smart. It was an honor of a lifetime. Well, if he's so smart and everything else, and there's no problem with his age, why did you replace him, Kamala? But again, back to my point about this being deja vu. You know, Kamala Harris was the insurance package for Joe Biden, and that's what Tim Walz is. Listen to Tim Walz. This guy is guilty of stolen valor. As far as the military goes, and just as a matter of honor, it is one of the most disgraceful things you can engage in. You have to be a really loathsome person to lie about your military record and service. And he has been caught repeatedly lying about carrying weapons of war overseas. He never deployed. That's the point. So listen to him answer this question when he's asked about it.
Country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me.
Oh, shut up. He wants to be a victim here. Oh, shut up. This guy's a communist. He's destroying our country. He's destroyed his own state. He let people burn his state to the ground, his cities to the ground, BLM. And he's, oh, people are always going to attack me. Can you imagine that being an excuse given by Donald Trump? Well, it's not a lie. I just, my grammar sometimes isn't great. So what is he saying? He's a stupid person. He's low IQ. He has bad grammar. And since when? I mean, grammar. Excuse me, son. Did you shoot out that window in the back with your BB gun? No, sir. No, sir. I did not shoot that window out with my BB gun. Well, I have you on video shooting it out with your BB gun, son. So what do you have to say? Oh, well, I have bad grammar. My grammar isn't very good. I can't believe that the people that would support these types. I mean, people that would support Kamala Harris and Tampon Tim have no self-respect. You actually hate yourself more than anything else. That you would lower yourself, that you would disgracefully support buffoons like this to lead you. To lead you. So anyway, that's what we have there. There's Tampon Tim, and he wasn't asked much, but he sat there like a weirdo during the interview. And I don't know if you saw in the clip, I mean, whoever was responsible for organizing and setting this up, it looks like they shot this thing, this taped, planned interview in like the break room at CNN. Where you go and have your coffee and your snack. I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like they don't care, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, the media is doing what they do. They're telling you that Kamala Harris was brilliant, even though you heard her stupidity yourself. But they're going to twist it, right? They're counting on people that didn't watch the interview. Oh, she did an interview and she didn't poop her pants. Hoorah! Huzzah! Kamala Harris, she is qualified because in the Democrat Party, if you can get through an interview, a taped interview, a scripted interview without pooping your pants, you are uniquely qualified to be president of the United States as a Democrat. That's what it is. So Nate Silver, who got it wrong back in 2016, he made a lot of adjustments to his modeling because he was humiliated, as most people were humiliated when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And so Nate Silver, he has a new election forecast out, and it doesn't look good for Kamala Harris. And, you had, of course, my point in telling you this is, and Nate Silver's no, Republican hoorah trying to fix the polls to make Trump look good. But you hear the media telling you the opposite of this. And by the way, these polls that are coming out from some of these places, when you look into them, they oversample. And they know this, by the way. And they're oversampling, and they're still only 2 or 3 percentage points ahead of Trump. That's not a big enough margin for them to actually win. But I will get into some things the Democrats are trying to do to give themselves an advantage. They can't legally win. Democrats cannot legally win this race today. Despite the media, despite the propaganda, despite all of it, they can't do it. So they need the illegals. But anyway, a lot of people that watch the media, that buy into their lies, that think that they're honest and don't have, malevolent intentions, suppression polls, and so on and so forth. Well, a lot of people were surprised by Nate Silver's poll, which was published on Thursday. Kamala Harris had one of her worst days in some time in our forecast, despite gaining in our national polling average, wrote Silver. The forecast says that Trump has a 52.4% chance to win the Electoral College, while Harris only has a 47.3% chance to win the presidency. It explains the stats don't add up to 100% because of the small possibility of an electoral tie. Now, Silver explained that the model forecast took into account a bump after the Democratic National Convention. By the way, there was basically no bump. No bump happened after the DNC. So it assumes, Silver's saying, it assumes Harris's polls are somewhat inflated right now. In other words, just as it assumed Trump's numbers were inflated after the RNC. The model puts a lot of weight on this recent data because of all the changes in the race. And you can see why it thinks this is a problem for her. If she's only tied in Pennsylvania now, during what should be one of her stronger polling periods, that implies being a slight underdog in November. And here's the thing, remember this. with these polls anyway. What happened in 2016 in particular. Because the media and the Democrat voter and the culture that's been created in this country is so antagonistic towards Republicans and Trump supporters, when these pollsters show up and they call people and they say, and they ask people to participate, they feel intimidated. They won't be honest. Many Trump supporters won't come out and participate in these polls. So inevitably, it doesn't account for that. These polls don't typically account for that. So you know that there's always going to be some kind of false skew in favor of Democrats because of the hostile nature of politics. Democrats aren't intimidated or afraid to express their support for Democrat candidates because they're not being kicked out of restaurants for being Democrats. Nobody's trying to assassinate Trump and Kamala Harris on the right. That's happening to Donald Trump. Nobody's breaking Democrat Congress pronouns ribs at their homes. That's happening to Rand Paul. You know, Republicans aren't going and shooting up baseball fields where Democrat congressional candidates are practicing for the baseball game. That's Bernie Sanders and Democrat supporters trying to murder and slaughter Steve Scalise and Republican congressional baseball players, right? So we know that we live in this world. We know it's 21st century Jim Crow, that there are spoken and unspoken and legitimate and not legitimate, but I guess I mean official and unofficial rules of discrimination against Republicans and MAGA supporters and Trump supporters in this country. That's the world we live in. We know this. So anyway, we got less than 68 days until Election Day. And this isn't looking good for her. So right now, according to Nate Silver, you know, Trump's looking pretty good. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I want to bring up another poll I just saw that my buddy had sent to me. So, all right, this is after the interview that Kamala Harris participated in. And this is why they have to hide her, because the more Americans see her and hear her, the less popular she's going to be. So chance of winning, Trump 53.1%. So just a couple days ago, Nate Silver had Trump at a 52.4% chance to win the Electoral College and Kamala Harris at 47.3%. Now, after this this interview where she didn't poop her pants, Trump's gone up and she's gone down. Trump now 53.1%, Harris 46.6%. And the swing states, she's got a 10 percentage point lead on Trump in just Wisconsin and Michigan. And remember, for this to actually, because of the skewed poll results, like I've been telling you, you know, back in the Obama era, you know, I mean, they were looking and they needed, 10%. They needed a 10% lead to feel comfortable and confident that they were actually going to win that state. And so she's got a 10% on Trump in this latest poll in Wisconsin and Michigan, but Trump is ahead by a lot in Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and the poly market odds, which is just another, betting system that is used, and it's as reliable as anything else. But they've got Trump at 50% and Harris at 49%. So, in my opinion, I mean, it shouldn't be close at all. It shouldn't be this close. But here we are. Here we are. And I want to say something else about I've got a story here. I'll just read the headline first. Only about a third of U.S. adults believe the American dream is still alive. And so let me play this clip again of Kamala Harris in this interview.
Deserve, which is a new way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what.
So she is criticizing the last decade. She's saying we need to turn the page. Yeah, I agree. We need to turn the page and move on from you and Joe Biden and Democrat policies that are destroying America. And they claim to be the party of joy, and yet Only about a third of U.S. adults believe that the American dream is still alive. These people aren't going to give anybody, there is no joy in this country. I mean, groceries are almost 30% more expensive. Since January, gas prices are up 13, 14%. That's just in this year. Energy costs are skyrocketing. Did you get a 30% raise since 2020? I didn't. We are working harder than ever before just to make ends meet. We're not doing better than we were. We're having to work more just to provide the same necessities that we provided 4 years ago because of this administration and their policies. But that doesn't even talk about all of these things that are well. Let me do this. I got to do this story before I forget, because you keep hearing Kamala Harris trying to blame corporations for their greed, price gouging. It's not because of their policies and inflation. The government's not bad. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden aren't bad. Their policies aren't bad. No. These companies are just, for no reason at all, hiking up prices because they want to hurt you and make more money. Well, guess what? AIR, the American Institute for Economic Research, Joel Griffith writes, food profit margins shrink, but Harris blames them for rising grocery bills. And the average Democrat out there is just so foolish. They would. I mean, where's the meat? Are they going to ask this question? Okay, Kamala Harris is blaming corporations on their greed. Well, if we want to be journalists and look into this, well, perhaps one of the things we should look into to see if this is true or not is how much profits are for these corporations. And it turns out that, yes, rising grocery costs are putting the squeeze on millions of Americans, tens of millions. Overall, he writes, the cost of a trip to fill the pantry rose nearly 22% since the beginning of 2021. Many specific staples rose far more. Eggs are up 110%, flour up 29%, orange juice up 82%. A family of four spending $1,000 per month just 3.5 years ago is spending an additional $2,640 annually. I mean, I got to read that again. And this is why, I mean, I feel this in my own life. It's like, why don't I have any money? Why is it so hard? This is why. You don't have time to think about this. You don't have a choice. You have to buy groceries. And this is eating up our wages. So a family of four spending $1,000 per month 3.5 years ago is spending an additional $2,640 annually for this same shopping. Folks, that is devastating. And that is why you have people turning to credit cards and running up credit card debt just to survive. So Harris keeps mixing this truth with falsehood, he writes. So Vice President Harris misdiagnosed the source of the problem as bad actors seeing their highest profits in 2 decades. Well, if you have to raise prices because of inflation, you are going to see, quote unquote, higher profits. So Harris mixes this truth with falsehood by claiming businesses are now pocketing the savings after these supply chain issues have subsided. And so she wants to, of course, engage in Soviet-style price control. But he gets into this. The faulty diagnosis first. The data easily counters this. An insightful way of analyzing whether price increases are due to gouging is to focus on the variable production costs of the goods sold plus the selling, general, and administrative expenses. That's right. So let's look at if expenses have gone up for these greedy corporations. Tyson Foods, the world's largest chicken, beef, and pork processor, saw its margin drop from 8.4% in 2020 to just 1.1% last year. Kraft Heinz and General Mills, food processors with combined revenue nearly equal to Tyson Foods, suffered similar results. Kraft Heinz margin declined from 21.4% to 20.2%. General Mills shrank from 17.8% to 16.8%. So there is not gouging happening here. These industry leaders are actually failing to fully pass along the entirety of their own costs. So actually, they should be raising prices more than they are if they just wanted to maintain the same revenue stream and profits that they were a couple of years ago. So after accounting for all expenses, including extraordinary items, taxes, and interest, margins are even tighter. Notably, Tyson Foods experienced a net profit margin last year of negative 1.23%. Kraft Heinz realized a 10.72% net profit margin last year, and General Mills a 12.91% margin. So you're running a business, think of your own business, whatever, and you're only making a 12% profit every year. So if you were, running a business and, cost you $1 million, you're walking away with $120,000 in profits. So you run a small business and your salary is $120,000. That's what you're coming away with after everything's paid for. You think that's fantastic? You think you're robbing the American citizen out there? Hardly. So they get into grocery stores and they say grocer profit on $100 of sales is just $1.60. Wow, look at them price gouging. $1.60 a profit on $100. Wow, these people are really raking it in. So anyway, history provides endless proof that prices set by governments under the market price results in shortages. So, that's what we're going to get. Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union. Dangerous stuff. So anyway, all right, let's take one more last break actually here. And we get back. I want to talk about what's going on with the illegal aliens in this country and how dangerous this is, how frightening this is, and why Kamala Harris is responsible. We will be right back after this.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
Looking to give your wardrobe an upgrade this Memorial Day? Well, look no further. Here at God Country & Kin, we've got you covered from head to toe, from shoulder to shoulder, and everything in between. Introducing our brand new Patriotic Collection, designed to display your patriotic spirit with a stylish look that's sure to turn heads. And the best part is, you don't have to break the bank to be your best you. This Memorial Day, save up to 20% off our entire Patriotic Collection, plus enjoy free shipping on all orders. Why wait? Visit us online or in-store today and elevate your style with God Country & Kin. God Country & Kin, where patriotism meets style. Shop now and show your true colors this Memorial Day. Visit the Patriot TV store and look for the God Country Kin banner to find the perfect outfit, shirt, accessory, or maybe a great hat.
And I'm back to Around the Millennial Minister of Truth. So we've only got about 5 minutes here left. So things don't look good for Kamala Harris. So what are Democrats relying on? Can we figure out what their plan is to try and win this election when nothing seems to be working? Well, the California legislature passes a bill banning voter ID laws. The California legislature passed a bill banning local governments from adopting voter identification laws for local elections. California does not require identification to vote, but earlier this year, the city of Huntington Beach approved a voter ID requirement for municipal elections starting in 2026. This bill would override Huntington Beach's policy. Here's another headline. Democrats are freaking out over Republicans' efforts to stop illegal aliens from voting. I mean, this is astonishing. Virginia and Texas They've done a decent job cleaning up their voter rolls. They're making an effort there, strides as well. They're moving, illegal immigrants and non-citizens from their voter rolls. And this is what Democrats want to stop. Democrats have a problem with cleaning the voter rolls. They have a problem with making sure that dead people aren't on the voter rolls. And this is why they say, every vote counts. Every vote has to count, or whatever stupid slogans they have. But anyway, the Trump campaign, the RNC, Republican governors, Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill, they're working to keep illegal immigrants and non-citizens from voting. Is this controversial to anyone out there? People who are not citizens should not vote to elect our representatives, especially the President of the United States. Is that so hard to understand? Is that so controversial? It is for Democrats. So, there's a conservative back push. This is from the Hill for stricter proof of citizenship requirements for voting. And they say this could complicate efforts to avert a government shutdown next month. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have acknowledged a stopgap of some kind, also known as a continuing resolution, will be necessary to keep the government funded past September. By the way, get ready for this. You're going to have this blame game. We've got another government shutdown coming up right before the election. And this is going to be, the Democrats are going to try and exploit this as much as they can for a political advantage. They're going to blame the shutdown on Republicans. Republicans, if the Republicans have the guts to say, hey, I want to pass this bill that makes it illegal for non-citizens to vote, Democrats are going to scream. They won't go along with it. How do you support a party out there that defends and wants illegals to vote in elections? So here's a headline. Thanks to courtesy of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and their border policy, a group of 20 migrants attempted to enter California school bus, picking up students in really scary scenes, say officials. A group of about 20 migrants terrified young children by trying to get on their California school bus early Wednesday, a day after a smaller group walked down a highway trying to stop another bus. You've got illegals walking in our highways and our streets, trying to hail and take and get on board buses for transportation. On Tuesday, at least 3 migrants walked in the middle of Highway 94 to try to stop a bus that was forced to go around them. Then, early Wednesday, about 20 tried to get on a bus at the same stop just off the highway students got on for school. These people are criminals. They don't belong here, and they only think of themselves. They're trying to board school buses that your children are on, and we don't know who they are or what their intentions are. I don't care if they're good intention or not. I don't want them on the bus with my children. These people, and you're seeing it in this way. They're totally disrupting our way of life. We don't know who they are. And then, of course, there's one other story here you might have heard about, just to close out. On Wednesday night, Fox Denver aired surveillance video that showed an armed gang of men, later confirmed by cops as suspected members of Tren de Aragua. This is a Venezuelan gang. They're here illegally, came across the border. They're strolling through an apartment complex in Aurora that residents said has been overrun by the gang. So this gang, armed gang, has taken over the city of Aurora, Colorado. They were taking over apartment complexes like their own little fiefdoms. And Democrats want to run from this in their policies. Folks, it is a matter of self-preservation for yourself, your children, and your country that you support Trump in November. Every town is going to be like Aurora, Colorado coming soon. And what's happening is absolutely unforgivable. So anyway, this is Drew Allen. I hope you enjoy the Labor Day weekend here. God bless you all. And until next week.